Our weed of the week is common milkweed. And you know, this particular field, Brian, brings back all kinds of memories of common milkweed.
I don't remember any of it. I really don't.
I don't know what it is.
I think I blocked a lot of that stuff out.
All the bean walking that we did as kids, walking soybean fields, pulling all the weeds out there, man, those memories just stay with me because, you know, it gets to this time of the summer, it's kind of humid and hot, and I just remember how miserable it was out there pulling all these milkweeds. Well, anyway, this particular field that we're in, we were out in the field and there's lots of milkweeds on one end of the field, but the closer we got to the road, there were hardly any weeds of any kind. And so we thought, man, this is pretty good. We're moving along, we're going fast, but then we get over this hill that you couldn't see from the road, and there's lots of milkweeds. And we'd been out in the field for a few hours and we're right by some relatives of ours, and they invited us in for some lunch. So we came in and I was asking him about this field, and I said, man, you know, it's one side of the field, there's hardly any weeds, but once we get over the hill, it's just solid common milkweed. And it's a perennial weed. I know it's been out there for a long time. You know, has it always been that way? And one of our relatives said, well, yeah, I used to just walk it as far as you could see from the road. Then I was so sick of pulling milkweeds that I just quit. So he said, hopefully you kids will finish off that field over the next 10 or 20 years and get her cleaned up.
You know, I just remembered why I don't know half of Darren's stories, because he makes stuff up all the time.
I don't think so at all. We were having ham sandwiches, ice cream, and lemonade, Brian.
This is a field a mile down the road, and you literally could not see the backside of that hill. But that's the way a lot of fields used to get farmed in the old days, because people were more concerned about what the neighbors thought than they were about yield loss from weeds. And you know, when you start looking at common milkweed, it can definitely impact yield because it's a perennial. It has an extensive root system. It sucks a lot out of the soil in terms of water and nutrients. You've got to get it under control. Fortunately, Roundup does an excellent job even today on milkweed. It hasn't developed resistance or anything. If you go out there with a quart and a half of 4-pound Roundup, you'll do pretty well.
Before you start talking about how great Roundup is on milkweed, you've got to use a strong enough rate. Well, even that quart, I don't think is quite strong enough. I think it's a quart and a half to 2.
It's not so much the rate, it's low water volume. You've got to have concentrated droplets because milkweed has a waxy leaf. So it's more the low use too. Yep, it's more the low use rate of water, and then you don't have to go with the high use rate of Roundup. So make sure you have low water volumes, and then you can do a good job with Roundup.
The other thing with milkweed, if you are going to try something other than Roundup, you're going to go out and try and pull them, or you're going to use a hoe and cut them off as low as you can. That root system is still intact. They're going to shoot up new plants. And that's why it was so much of a problem back in the conventional soybean days, because guys would be out there doing things like this or burning off the top growth, and then they just come back later in the season, make seed, and there's lots more milkweeds the next year.
Right, so basically tillage doesn't do it. You've got to use herbicide. Roundup is the best thing that there is. If you get into a crop like wheat, there are many choices that are pretty good. Husky is not too bad. If you use something like any of the 2,4-D products, it'll knock the milkweed down. But again, coming back to the Roundup, make sure you use low water volumes and a maybe slightly higher use rate of Roundup, and you'll do an excellent job on common milkweed.
Well, that's it for the Weed of the Week, but there's more Ag PhD to come after this.